We're very fortunate to have some time to sit down with Ms. Ayako Yasuda, who is one of the consuls down at the Atlanta Consulate. I've known Yasuda-san for a few years now, so thank you so much for making time to speak with us today.
Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for welcoming us at Japanese Consulate in Atlanta today. Thank you so much. I'm the consul who are dedicated to the Japanese cultural affairs and promotion here in Atlanta. But actually, our main task is to assist Japanese nationals and promote ties between the US and Japan. But there's not much more to it. So Japan, like us as a nation, has embassy and consulate office around the world that represent their home country and assist its citizens who are abroad. These officials are also called foreign missions. Here is the US. The Embassy of Japan is in Washington, D.C., as you can see. So in total, Japan has now 17 consular offices throughout the United States. We service Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and North Carolina, the 4 states.
Well, I've had the pleasure of being able to come and visit your office a number of times since I've been here in this position at the Japan Center at NC State, as well as having the honor of coming and speaking at the welcome home reception for returning JET program participants. I think that was maybe 2 years ago. It was a great event, so thank you for allowing me to participate in these kind of events. I think many people know that the Japanese population and businesses, the number of businesses in Georgia is quite high. You know, we have some very large businesses that are Japan owned in Georgia and in the other states that you mentioned, including North Carolina. But especially in Georgia, you know, such as YKK, I know is a big participant in a lot of your events. So what I wanted to ask was just a few very basic things for people that might not know a lot about the difference between, for example, as you mentioned, an embassy, which we have up in Washington, D.C., and a consular office. So why don't we start there? What is the difference really in very basic terms between an embassy and a consular office, such as your location?
Okay, it's a good question and very essential. I think it's basically a consulate office is its main task is to assist Japanese nationals living in United States. Then you may be most familiar with consular services that we provide, like visa issues. So as a consular office, we issue official documents for Japanese students, such as passport and certifications, including visa. In addition, we issue visa for non-Japanese citizens who wish to visit Japan. As you mentioned, the JET program is something like the biggest project with me. So another essential responsibility of the consulate to assist Japanese nationals in emergencies. So we also provide support for relocated Japanese citizens, such as coordinating overseas voting in Japanese election, and providing Japanese language textbook for families and school-aged children.
Especially for, you know, right now during the pandemic, I mean, there were a lot of people asking questions, you know, to your office and to the Japan Center, and we coordinated a lot with that, getting information out to Japanese nationals here stateside. You mentioned the JET program. So I'm very proud to be an alumnus of the JET program, and I'm very happy to see that that's starting to, you know, ramp back up now with kids coming in and graduating from university and colleges and going to Japan to teach and also to work at municipal offices, do a lot of cultural exchange. What have you been seeing in terms of the JET program applications? So now that you've ramped back up, is it been like a pretty big surge of people wanting to apply to the JET program and get to Japan, or has it been pretty steady recently?
I think, especially during the pandemic, it's, to be honest, it's getting increasing to have some interest to visiting Japan. So we are so lucky and happy to, hear about that. So many candidates had a question form, and then we try to answer clearly. So especially the JET program is the very important employment opportunity for young professionals to live and actually work in Japan. And assistant English teacher, especially in these days, some JETs are trying to be a coordinator for international relations for the local government.
Yeah, CIRs.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
So in terms of the application process, what I had read, I believe, is that because of the pandemic, there had been a bit of a change in terms of the application. Is it now twice a year or something like that? How has the application changed? Process changed?
Yeah, actually, the last year we had a Tokyo Games 2020. So the schedule has a little bit behind after the Tokyo Games ended. But now this year, everything was back to normal. So this means just one time in a year to submitting the form. Then we are starting to screening from the documents and then the interview in a person style. So we are about to meeting candidates around 300 in a year. So many, numbers.
These will be the participants that will be placed then in August or July or August of 2022.
Yes.
So it's such a really important program. So I'm happy to see it's being very successful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this program has actually started from 1984. So this means more than, almost 40 years has been succeeded.
It's great too to meet people who are JETs, or even when I was a JET, I was serving with another person whose parent, his mother was a JET.
Yes.
So now it's like multi-generational JET program participants.
Second generation has been started.
That's really wonderful. So one of the other things that you mentioned is of course, your office is responsible for helping Japanese nationals who are stateside in the states in the southeast region that you mentioned, but also people who are traveling to Japan, right? Who are not Japanese nationals, right? And so, as we know, along with every other country, these kind of visa restrictions during the pandemic of when people can enter the country, enter Japan, and for how long, and for what reasons, and under what circumstances has changed. We do want to be current for our audience. What is the best way for people to know the very latest information as to what the visa and quarantine procedures are for entering Japan?
We have a special, pages for COVID-19. So this is something like a day-by-day update information you can touch.
I wanted to ask, just in very basic terms, you're part of the diplomatic corps from Japan. How do people in Japan end up getting into the career of being part of the diplomatic corps?
In generally speaking, so this is unusual on my career, but I transfer from the private, company into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So basically, maybe that, after graduating university or any courses in a specialist as a master course in university, they have been taking the test to be the diplomat. So different levels, different specialties. So we have a lot of opportunity to be the diplomat all over the world.
So that's like the Japanese government's version of, on our side, we have the foreign service exam, the foreign service test.
Yeah, test.
And, okay, understood. What was your motivation to become a diplomat?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question, because I'm the person who kind of be happy because the other people feel so happy. So this is very basic. My responsibility is to be the cultural ambassador between Japan and the United States. So this is, I think, another central mission of the consulate in Japan, in United States. So we mostly use events like a big Japan Fest in Atlanta, like a Japanese festival.
Japan Fest, really big event.
Big event. I think 25,000 guests, only 2 days, especially, from the local people, local American people. So we really love to welcome them to have, this mutual cultural experiences there. Then we have a lot workshop there, not only for kids, but also the adult who'd like to have some interest in Japanese traditional culture, like history stuffs. Of course, not only the very authentic, historically, traditionally stuffs, but also like a more trendy, highlighted, trends from Japan, like anime is a game, especially in these days, esports industries. So
really big, really big.
Happy to introduce, our culture affairs in a wide range to the local people and communicate together how they reacted.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, and thank you for sharing your personal story about getting into the diplomatic corps. Esports is a big thing right now. And it's really getting big. NC State University actually just announced a really big investment in esports and in game development. So a lot of people end up that are not necessarily, from Japan, or, that are interested in East Asia. I think a lot of people, their entry point into Japanese culture and language is anime, for example, or yes, like games that are developed in Japan, in esports, films, J-pop, for example, music. Have you seen, to your knowledge, people who are applying for the JET program? They're always asked in the interview process, why do you want to go to Japan? Why are you interested in Japan? Have you seen any changes in that over time? I know originally when the JET program was initiated in the 1980s, a lot of people were interested in Japan for business, right? They wanted to learn Japanese language and be introduced to Japan because of, business things.
Right.
And then I think it started trending more towards more of the trendy, cultural things that you talked about. And is it circling back to business-centered stuff, or is it a combination, or what are you seeing for the most part?
Yes, this is very difficult to describe. I think it's a mixture between business side and then the more soft cultural side. So basically, the candidates love the culture, Japanese culture, including games, animes, and the J-pops, and then some, Japanese snacks. the chocolate, cookies, whatever. They raised with the Japanese manga, so they sometimes try to be the same character, like putting on the randoseru, like Japanese students' bags.
Or or cosplay or something.
Yes, you can see. So, do you know that MomoCon is the Georgian biggest anime festival, Peach in Japanese? So that is why they call the MomoCon Peach, because that's a conference held in the Georgia states.
Peachtree State. Yep.
Yeah, correct.
I did hear that you will be rotating back to Tokyo before too long, and we're going to really miss you in the Southeast. You've been such a wonderful advocate for diplomacy and Japanese relations in this region. Thank you so much for all of your hard work, again, under incredibly challenging circumstances.
So it's totally true. But I really had a good time with you, Jonathan, and the community. So I felt so, Southern hospitality in a short time, like in 2 years and 8 months.
Yeah. Well, you're always welcome, and we really want to make sure that our ties, in North Carolina and with the CG's office in Atlanta it remains a very fruitful and strong one. So thank you very much. Please give our regards to Consul Takeuchi, and thank you so much for your time today. Please stay safe out there, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time today.